Hey, so next week is Mental Health Awareness Week, which means that you should think about your mental health for next week, and then you can forget about it for the next 51 weeks of the year again. No, but seriously, what I'll be doing is sharing a few things over the next week that you can do. Some of it you probably may already know if you follow me. Some of it maybe you don't know. Either way, I'm going to put it out there as a good reminder or like a new introduction to whatever. Yeah, I thought I'd just mention it now to keep myself accountable so I actually do it. Sometimes I forget. Anyway, peace. Talk soon. Hey, so, got a question. Where do thoughts come from? So not in the hippy-dippy kind of way, in the actual scientific way. Because scientists and neuroscientists specifically don't actually know. They've been trying to figure it out, but we and them don't actually know where thoughts come from. And when I say where do thoughts come from, like we are, we can be the thinkers of our thoughts. We can go, I want to think about this thing, but like it just pops in our head. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we have a thought that pops in our mind and we're like, where the fuck did that come from? Like that should not be said out loud, but sometimes it just pops in your head. And a lot of different thoughts. So what this means is there's a lot of things that are thought by our mind that we don't actually consciously produce. They just kind of pop into our consciousness. So we don't have to associate with those thoughts. It can be very easy to, because if they're in our heads, it means it comes from us. That means we are doing the thinking of the thoughts. This is going to get very confusing, but stay with me. But that's not the case all the time. So sometimes we have to realize that we're just the sort of observers of the thoughts that we think, right? So we don't have to connect or associate with them, including the negative ones or even the positive ones. I mean, it's probably more beneficial to disassociate with all the negative thoughts, or a good chunk of them. And an easy way to do that is there's two ways really. First is to ask yourself or the thought, what if I'm wrong? Or what if this thought is wrong? Or number two, you can assign a name to the thought or the other thing that thinks those thoughts, the alter ego in a sense, and this helps you talk to your negative thoughts in like a second person or maybe even third person sometimes. I sometimes call mine Clive. Sometimes he can be a prick, and I tell him that, and I let it go, right? So if we think about thoughts in that sense, the negative thoughts that we can associate with can appear. We can be like, that's a weird thing. I'm not gonna connect with that and move on. Eventually, that thought is gonna dissipate. But if you do associate and connect with it, that thought, if you do connect, will create a visceral, physiological reaction, which will make you feel anxious, and that's going to be the meaning you assign to that thought. But you don't need to assign a meaning to that thought, and avoid that visceral, anxious feeling that you get from doing that. And even if you do get that feeling, you can accept it. It's fine. It's just a feeling. Peace. That's it. See you tomorrow. One thing I should mention about disconnecting or disassociating with negative thoughts is that it can be extremely challenging. Like, it can be hard as to do sometimes, especially when the negative thoughts that we have are like berating us constantly for whatever reason. The intensity of those can vary, and depending on the intensity and the frequency, it can be quite challenging. So if you are trying to do that and you're finding it difficult, then that's very, very normal. Don't feel bad. It takes time and practice. It's because you're essentially trying to reframe your mind when something happens, right? And that can take time. Cool. All right. Bye.